friends. Um, some of you know me, I'm Michelle Dovey, and I am someone who has become super interested, our desires, my desires. And what are my desires, and how does this whole thing work, and how do I get what it is that I want? And so I've been reading some intense books, I've been having some intense thoughts. And this morning, as I was waking up, I had a memory of something that happened in my life. I'm an artist, and I did my first degree in New Zealand, where I grew up, and then I came to London, and one of my art tutors had told me that something I did was not okay. I used to draw a lot, had a big drawing practice, and something I used to do with my paintings is I used to draw with paint. And so in my paintings, I'd be drawing with the paint and I'd be painting with the paint. One of my tutors said to me at the time, "This is the problem, that you're drawing with paint, not painting with paint." So I was like, "Oh." I read this great definition of a belief the other day. It's an idea that our conscious mind thinks is plausible and chooses to accept it. So at the time, I was like, oh, I have a problem. I draw with paint. When I came to London, I was looking around, and one of my favorite artists, Kitaj, RB Kitaj, was someone that drew with paint. And so I decided to write to him one day to say, I've been told I have this issue. Here's my work. Here's my portfolio. I'd love to come and talk to you about it because it's something that I can see that you're doing. And he wrote back to me and he said, I've never seen any art students, but anyway, I'll be happy to see you. Um, Come over to my house next week and we talk about it. So I went over, he was living in a house in Chelsea. I had never been into the house of an artist before. It was a big moment for me. Partly as a young 21-year-old, now I look back at myself and I think it wasn't just that I was going to talk to him, what he was going to say. I was also looking at like this is what an artist's house looks like. I think it was the first time I'd seen when we went through into his kitchen and like dining room that there was a room with a whole wall of books. And I don't think I'd ever seen like a room with a whole wall of books. I was like, oh, this is what artists have in their houses. They have like books. I didn't know that artists had loads of books. I have tons of books, as you can see. Um, anyway, I said to him, this is my issue. And then he proceeded to give me a new lesson that I had never learnt, 20th century art in terms of all the artists that draw with paint, starting with Degas, Sickert. There's loads. There's loads. Everybody does it. So he basically, what happened in that moment is I had taken on a limiting belief without even knowing it, that I had an issue, and he crushed it in one morning. He showed me that in drawing or painting with paint is not the issue. You're allowed to do whatever you want with paint. You can put the paint on the canvas however you want. That's all good. It's not even an issue. So what I was thinking is how we get these limiting ideas. And what I'm kind of understanding and reading is that the limiting beliefs we have about ourselves are, in fact, the most powerful things going on in our life right now, more or less. The powerful things, because they're kind of what's limiting us, and the other powerful thing is how much action we're taking. So I was like, wonder what other limiting beliefs I have. And I decided to ask ChatGPT because everything I write, I put through ChatGPT to sort out the grammar. So I was like, okay, ChatGPT, everything you've read that I have written, according to everything that I've written, um, what are my limiting beliefs? And ChatGPT said, you often think you need more experience than you have, and you think you have to have it all perfectly worked out before you start. That's true. I do often have ideas. Why I wanted to do a podcast is because I have a desire to do public speaking, a desire to speak on stages and to basically dissolve limiting beliefs and to inspire people to follow their desires. That is my key. That's a kind of key desire of mine. That's a You might even call that a mission. And what often stops me is thinking I need to be more prepared or more. And so I was thinking about the crux of this. The limiting belief is I need to be more experienced in order to begin, or I need to have things more perfect before I begin. What I also know is true. So, like, my job now is to crush those two beliefs and to install a new belief. It's no good just thinking the opposite. It's no good thinking I don't have to be perfect. It doesn't work like that. I actually have to crush the beliefs with, or yeah, evidence or logic. But basically what I know from like the world, life force, is everything grows from a small thing into a big thing. Everything follows on. So you have to start like the oak tree starts as a tiny, oak tree starts as an acorn, then it goes into the ground, then it like, it doesn't just suddenly become an oak tree. So I have to be, so the truth is everything follows on, everything is allowed to start and works and go from that. If my limiting belief is you need more experience before you begin, the only way I'm going to get more experience is if I begin. And the only way to get more perfect is to begin. So the way that the evidence that I have for the fact that that belief is um, untrue is that the only way I will become more experienced and more perfect is to begin. The only thing necessary is to begin. And I think what's most important is courage. Like courage and willingness to begin is the only thing. So that's why I've made this video. That's what it's about. The courage and willingness to begin. There's no perfect moment. There's no more perfect moment. This is the feeling of ready. This is what I learned this was my aha moment when I was in America a couple of weeks ago. This is the feeling of ready, the kind of like, oh my gosh, I want to, but I'm not sure about it. That is the feeling of ready. That's how I know. Um, so yeah, start today. There's no better moment. There's no, we're not going to get there. Um, we're not going to get there by thinking about it. Thanks for being here.